The sun beat down on the dusty outskirts of Del Hart, Texas, as Maddie Brooks crouched beside her father's toolbox, her little fingers wrapped tightly around a wrench too big for her hand. At just 8 years old, she had already memorized the sound of every engine in her father's small garage. While other kids played with dolls, Maddie tuned carburetors and sorted spark plugs by instinct. Her dad, Ray Brooks, was a single father who ran Brooks Auto and Farm Repair, a weather-worn building that leaned slightly to one side. But to Maddie, it was a palace of gears and possibilities. That morning had started like any other. Her dad left for a quick run to town, trusting Maddie to stay put and keep her hands off live engines. But minutes later, a sleek matte black F-250 rolled into the lot, coughing smoke and hissing like a wounded animal. Behind the wheel was a man in sunglasses, clearly out of place among rusted tractors and beat-up Chevys. He stepped out, muttering into a Bluetooth headset, glancing around. Impatiently, Maddie peeked from behind the toolbox, curiosity twitching in her fingers. The truck made a sharp clicking sound she recognized. A simple timing belt misalignment. The man pulled out his phone and barked at someone. "I'm gonna miss the 11 a.m. meeting unless I get this fixed in the next 30 minutes. I don't care what it costs. Just find someone." Maddie, still unseen, crawled quietly toward the truck. She'd seen her dad fix this kind of issue dozens of times. She slid underneath with a wrench, carefully examining the belt housing. The man hadn't noticed her yet. One bolt was loose, and another had been over-tightened. She tightened what needed tightening and loosened what didn't. Her hands moved with the certainty of someone born to do this. She didn't speak as she worked. Her knees scraped on the gravel, her forehead damp with sweat. The engine's tension eased slightly as she realigned the belt. She reached for her dad's multi-head socket and twisted the final bolt gently into place. After 15 minutes, she crawled out from under the truck, her cheeks smudged with grease and pride. The man finally noticed her, first confused, then concerned. "Where's the mechanic?" he asked sharply. Maddie pointed to the engine. "Try it now," she said confidently. The man frowned but slid into the driver's seat. He turned the key. The engine purred. Silence fell over the yard. The man looked out the window slowly, eyes wide behind expensive sunglasses. "Did you just fix that?" Maddie shrugged. "Just a misaligned belt and a loose bolt." The man stepped out, towering over her. "How old are you?" he asked. 8, she replied, wiping her hands on her jeans. "Her dad's." Truck pulled up just then, and Ray stepped out, jaw dropping as he saw the Millionaire truck idling perfectly. "What the Maddie?" he shouted. The man raised his hand. "She just fixed it." Ray blinked, speechless. The man extended his hand. "Name's Tyler Grant, and your daughter's a genius." Ray didn't quite know how to respond. He apologized to Tyler, offered a refund, and scolded Maddie lightly for touching tools unsupervised. But Tyler wasn't upset. He leaned against the truck, watching the little girl with disbelief. "She's got the gift," he said. "People 10 times her age don't move with that kind of confidence under a hood." Ray scratched his head. "She's always been that way. I just thought it was a phase." Tyler reached into his coat and handed Maddie his business card. "You ever want to learn more? Call me." Maddie nodded, but didn't understand the weight of that moment. Later that week, a red toolbox showed up at their doorstep with her name engraved on it, Maddie B. Inside was a full snap-on mechanic, set-sized for small hands. Ray stared at the shipping invoice, $0. Maddie's eyes sparkled as she opened each drawer, memorizing the tools like they were sacred. 2 weeks after that, Tyler returned, this time in a black SUV. He walked into the garage, asked for Maddie, and knelt beside her. "How would you feel about visiting one of my shops?" he asked. "See what the pros do." Maddie gasped. Nodding, Ray was hesitant but agreed. Tyler took Maddie and her dad to a massive facility outside Dallas chrome floors, robotic lifts, walls lined with diagnostic screens. Maddie wandered like she was in a dream. Mechanics in uniforms smiled at her as she fired off questions even they had trouble answering. Tyler watched her absorb everything. "You're a natural," he told her. Before they left, he pulled Ray aside. "I want to sponsor her," he said. "Lessons, equipment, whatever she needs." Ray folded his arms. "She's 8. She's not some investment." Tyler smiled. "She's not. She's an opportunity, and I want to help her grow." Ray thought about it long and hard. They didn't have much, no savings, no college fund, and Maddie had stopped asking for new clothes years ago. But she'd never stopped asking how engines worked. So he agreed with conditions. Tyler respected that. Over the next year, Maddie received kits, books, and even a laptop preloaded with engineering software. Every Sunday, she video called a female engineer from one of Tyler's companies who mentored her. Maddie built a go-kart from scratch, using salvaged parts, tuned lawnmowers for neighbors, and even fixed a teacher's hybrid car. Word spread. The little mechanic girl became a legend in town. By age 10, she was building small electric engines. At 12, she taught a summer workshop to local kids. Tyler visited often, always watching from the back, never taking credit. "She's something special," he'd whisper. At 13, Maddie won a statewide Youth Innovation Award for designing a wheelchair-friendly diagnostic tool. When reporters asked how she learned all this, she simply said, "I just listen to machines. They tell me what they need." She never mentioned the toolbox or the man whose truck she fixed, but Tyler didn't mind. He wasn't doing it for the spotlight. He saw something most people missed. By 15, Maddie had filed her first patent with the help of Tyler's legal team, who never charged a dime. The invention, a solar-powered engine primer for farm machinery in cold weather. Farmers from all over Texas started using her design. She still worked in her dad's shop after school, still had grease under her nails. She didn't chase fame. She chased function. One night, as they sat on the porch, Ray handed her a letter. It was from a foundation Tyler had funded, offering Maddie a full scholarship to any engineering school in the country. Maddie's hands trembled as she read. She looked up at her dad. "Do I have to go far?" she asked. Ray smiled. "Wherever you go, you'll build something amazing." But Maddie surprised them both. She said, "No, not yet. I want to build something here first," she said. Tyler understood. He flew in the next week, and together they drafted plans for a new youth garage, one where kids could learn mechanics. Hands-on. Maddie designed the layout. Tyler funded it. Ray helped manage it. They called it the Wrench Bench. Kids from across the state began applying. What had started as an 8-year-old fixing a stranger's truck had become a legacy. Opening day was small, just a ribbon, a few speeches, and a crowd of kids holding toolboxes nervously. Maddie gave a short talk. "When I was 8, she said, I fixed a truck, but that man fixed something in me too, he believed. So now, it's your turn." Tyler stood in the back, arms crossed, tears in his eyes. He remembered that first day, the angry call, the smoke from his truck, the tiny hands that fixed everything. No headline ever told that story right. But, standing there watching Maddie lead the next generation into that workshop, he knew it didn't matter. Maddie didn't care for awards or titles. She cared that one girl in her class stopped hiding her calloused hands. She cared that boys twice her size asked her for talk specs. She cared that kids like her, curious, quiet, greasy-fingered kids, finally had a place to belong. She spent her weekends mentoring, her evenings sketching inventions, and her nights writing a book, The Garage Girl's Guide to Fixing More Than Engines. Tyler edited every chapter, quietly, behind the scenes. Ray printed the first copy and framed it. Maddie kept her original red toolbox in a glass case inside the new shop. Years passed, but Maddie's fire never dulled. She still lived in Delhart, still tuned engines, still taught every week. But the world had noticed. At 17, she was invited to speak at a national engineering summit. She wore her denim overalls and oil-stained boots. Fixing things doesn't start with tools, she told the crowd. It starts with someone believing you can. That night she got a call. The Smithsonian wanted her toolbox. She said no. It belongs to the kids, she told them. Put it in the wrench bench where it started, where it's still fixing lives. By the time Maddie turned 13, her reputation was no longer confined to the dusty corners of her father's garage. Word had spread across the county that the girl who once fixed a millionaire's truck at 8 wasn't a fluke, she was a prodigy. Shop owners, truckers, and even mechanics twice her age began showing up just to see her work. They'd watch her twist bolts, diagnose problems by sound, and improvise with parts that had no business working together. Her hands moved with instinct, but it was her mind, sharp, curious, patient, that turned grease into gold, and Tyler Grant kept watching. Tyler hadn't forgotten the moment he turned his key, and the engine sang like it. Had never broken down. What haunted him wasn't just the miracle. It was the memory of a little girl in mismatched overalls, eyes gleaming with joy, not pride. Over the next few years, he funded her tools, quietly paid for her advanced training online, and arranged anonymous deliveries. He never wanted credit. He only wanted her to keep going. Maddie never asked questions. She just worked harder, building things that made even seasoned mechanics shake their heads in disbelief. Her father, Ray, watched it all with silent pride. He'd always known Maddie was special, but he didn't expect the world to agree so loudly. At 15, she was rebuilding an old Dodge for the town's retired sheriff. At 16, she built a custom engine that won a local speed record. She didn't chase trophies. She chased problems. Tyler finally stepped forward on her 17th birthday. With a bow tie awkwardly fastened and nerves he hadn't felt since his first investor pitch, he showed up with something no one expected: a building deed and a set of keys. It was a brand new garage, state-of-the-art, painted red like her first toolbox, outfitted with every piece of equipment she'd ever mentioned in passing. Maddie blinked, stunned. "Why?" she asked, holding the keys like they burned. Tyler smiled. "Because when you fixed my truck, you changed more than my engine. You reminded me what potential really looks like. I want the world to see it too." Her father put a hand on her shoulder. Maddie didn't cry, but her hands trembled. For the first time, she wasn't just fixing something, she was being built up too. The ribbon cutting brought in news crews, local leaders, and even kids from nearby towns who wanted to learn from the girl mechanic. Maddie refused to make a speech, so she walked the camera crews through her garage instead, explaining each machine like an old friend. Her voice was calm, her confidence effortless. When asked what made her different, she said, "I don't think I'm different. I just started early and I wasn't afraid to mess up." The clip went viral. Emails flooded in from young girls, fathers, even retired engineers offering mentorship or donations. Something much bigger had begun. The name of the shop was simple: Maddie's Garage, but the work inside was anything but. She introduced programs for kids to come learn on Saturdays, free diagnostics for senior citizens, and summer internships for local high school girls interested in trades. Tyler helped with logistics, Ray supervised new builds, and Maddie remained the soul of it all. People who walked in expecting gimmicks left talking about genius. She rebuilt a '68 Mustang for a single mom. She built a solar-powered go-kart for a science fair. She wasn't just repairing machines, she was repairing belief in what young people could do. At 18, Maddie received her first official business award, Young Innovator of the Year. She wore her stained overalls to the gala and stood beside tech founders in suits. When she accepted the award, she simply said, "This is for the girls who've been told their hands aren't made for tools." The room went silent. Tyler watched from the back, his eyes glossy. He never took credit, but Maddie knew. After the ceremony, she found him in the hallway. "You believed in me before I did," she whispered. "That's all any kid really needs." Tyler nodded. "And you proved us both right." Soon larger companies came knocking, offers for sponsorships, partnerships, even national branding campaigns. Maddie turned most of them down. "If I become a brand, I stop being a mechanic," she told her father. Instead, she partnered with local schools, launching mobile workshops where she and her team visited rural towns, teaching auto repair and engineering. Fundamentals. Girls who'd never held a wrench learned to tear down engines. Boys who never respected female mechanics started watching her videos. In a world screaming for fast fame, Maddie chose slow, steady impact, and it echoed louder than any viral post ever could. One rainy morning, an older woman in a wheelchair rolled into Maddie's garage. Her van had broken down miles from town, and no one else would help. Maddie didn't hesitate. She fixed the van, reinforced the wheelchair's wheel locks, and custom-installed a ramp better than the factory model. The woman cried, calling her an angel. But to Maddie, it was just another Tuesday. That story reached Washington. A month later, she received an invitation to speak at a national conference for women in STEM. She declined the speech but offered to host a live demo from her garage instead. The live stream brought in over 1 million viewers. Maddie, now 19, stood before the camera in the same red toolbox shirt she'd worn at 8. She rebuilt an alternator with one hand while answering questions with the other. She spoke about the future of automotive tech, the need for hands-on education, and the myth that intelligence only shows up in labs. Her final words were simple. Innovation isn't born in million-dollar labs. Sometimes it starts in small garages with broken trucks and girls who don't know they're not supposed to fix them. The stream ended, and donations poured in. Tyler Grant watched it all unfold like a proud uncle. He had long stepped back from daily involvement, but Maddie always made sure he had a seat at every event. One afternoon, he visited her, unannounced, bringing the same black truck she once fixed. "It's sputtering again," he said. Maddie smiled. "Maybe it just wants to visit its roots." She bent over the hood, checked the timing, and tightened a wire. It roared back to life. "Still got it," he grinned. Maddie looked up. "I've got more now because someone gave me the tools, the place, and the faith." Years passed. Maddie's garage expanded into 3 towns, then 5, each one followed the same philosophy: hands-on learning, community repair, and opportunities for those often overlooked. Her Saturday classes produced not just mechanics, but inventors, engineers, and confident young people. Her story was added to school textbooks. Hollywood called, but she passed. "Let someone else play the role. I've got real work to do," she'd say. But when the town built a statue in front of her original shop, Maddie stood quietly beside it, tears in her eyes, hands still stained with grease, heart still grounded. The little girl who once fixed a millionaire's truck had never planned to change the world. She only wanted to help, to solve, to build. But because someone saw her worth before the world did, because someone handed her a key instead of a doubt, she became a symbol of what belief can do. Not belief in machines, belief in people. Today, every child who walks into Maddie's garage sees a photo of her at age 8, kneeling beside that truck, holding a wrench too big for her hand, but just right for her future.